Hello everyone, welcome back to the shop. Today I'm going to show you how to properly forge a fishtail scroll. Thanks for watching. Okay everyone, we're at the workbench here. So, the first step in making a good fishtail scroll is making the fishtail itself. My classification of a fishtail scroll, or a good fishtail scroll, is that it has a bit of crown to it. So we're going to draw that like that. Okay? So the starting material that we are working with is going to be 1/4 inch by 1 inch flat stock. And we are going to spread the end of the bar to widen it and to create this crowned look here. That's the first step in making a very good fishtail scroll. This is going to be a simple fishtail scroll. In another video, I will go over making a decorative fishtail scroll, and I think you guys will find that very neat, but we'll get into that at a later video. So, this is what we are going to start with. This is what we're going to attempt to forge now, and then I will come back before I start the next process of rolling this up to explain at the bench what we are looking for there. So, let's get to it. Okie doke. One of the first steps in doing this is to only heat the bar where you need it to move the most. You start from the center and then you work left and right evenly of center. Until you start getting that scroll fanned out nicely. Now that's where you want to stop, or once you get it to where you want it to be. So I'll just work that out a little bit more. I want that to have a little more flair to it. So there you have it. So there's the fishtail scroll there, guys. So as you can see, it still has rough hammer marks. Some guys leave that for texture, but I'm actually going to use those to push the scroll even wider by flipping it over and planishing them out from the underside using the anvil with the hammer on top. Excuse me. The reason why you want a really short heat is you won't get the spreading that you're looking for if it's up a lot further, if you get a lot longer heat than that. Because metal's going to travel the path of least resistance. And so if you make all directions the path of least resistance, it's going to travel equally in all areas. I see a lot of guys struggling with this. They started with this in mind, but then it ended up with a nice big fan tail like this, and it really didn't get what they were looking to achieve. So, next step, I'll bring it back out of the fire. I'll have it flipped over. I'll be planishing it out from the back side. And then we will start the scroll itself. But before we even start the scroll, we'll go back over to the workbench and I'll explain what we're looking for in the final result, so this way it comes through. The other point I'd like to notate, if you notice, this has a nice art to it already. We want to preserve that. A flat scroll just looks like a manufactured scroll. I don't like them. I know some guys will use those on their ironwork. And depending on your aesthetic, what you're looking for, it may work for you. I like the crown on the scroll. So I'll stick this back in the fire, and I'll be right back with you. Okie doke, ladies and gents. Here's our second heat. We're going to flip the side over that has all the hammer marks, and we're going to lightly planish the back side with the flat of the hammer. And that's also going to give it this tendency to want to spread a little bit. We're just using light hammer blows here. All we're trying to do is planish out that front side. And that's got most of them. You may have to come back in and dress it a little more. There's still a few deeper hammer marks, but you can see that gets it quite clean. dressing it that way. So one more heat would planish that out just fine. And I'll probably do that off camera, so that way that's well planished out. But that's what you're wanting to look for in a fishtail scroll. That's the start of it. So next, I'll be over at the workbench, and I will show you what we're going to be shooting for in the next forging clip. And here we are again at the workbench. So we've got this part made. What's the next portion of this process? Well, we want to get that scroll to roll over. And now I'm going to draw this like as if it's coming right at you. So bear with me. This is how I make my drawings. Erase the part in between. This just helps me get everything kind of proportionately the way I want it. So in my ideal, this here is a very pleasing fishtail scroll. I see a lot of guys, if you just have that flat across there, guys, it doesn't look very organic in nature like scrolls are supposed to look. It looks very factory produced, and it does matter in the final work piece once you get them all together and they're all done. I prefer my work to look hand forged when it's done, but I want it to be tastefully done. That's why I didn't leave a bunch of heavy gore marks on the fishtail, because that's not something that somebody would have done in traditional ironwork. It would have been seen as a poor show of craftsmanship. That's why I don't do it in mine. Hand-forged iron will develop its own natural surface texture to it that is very beautiful and aesthetically pleasing and not factory looking. The only time that I deem that it's okay is if you had to do any sort of grinding or file work to get a cold shut out, or maybe a divot that was too deep that you just couldn't planish out. At that point, it's okay to go back and rework the surface to give it a little bit of surface texture and a little bit of forged scale on it to blend it in with the rest of the piece. So this is what we're going to do next, and this is called the start of the scroll. And then from here, you just keep scrolling it up in a spiral pattern like you see all scrolls. I will put a link in the description and a little in-screen video on forging a scroll that I've done a few months ago. And you guys can take a look at that if you want to learn more about how to forge a scroll. Today, all we're going to do is we're going to do this little bell portion here to forge this correctly so you guys can see what's going on there. So anyways, next up, we'll be over at the anvil. Here we are at the anvil, guys and gals. Just a real quick note. When we're forging this, we're not wanting to try to take and forge it around the corner of the anvil. We are actually just trying to use the anvil as a support while we freeform the end of the scroll. Especially in a fishtail scroll, not only do you want to curve it this way, but you want it to keep this curve, this inside doming effect. And if you were to just hammer it straight against the anvil, not only are you just going to get a square and not a curve, but then it would also make that end flat, which we don't want. So we'll bring it out, knock off the excess coal or whatever. It's a nice short heat. And we're just going to use the anvil as a support. And I'm not hitting against the anvil, I'm just using it to back up my material. I'll work the corners a little bit, and then I'm going to come it up, bring it up, and use back face hammer blows to work this scroll towards myself. Now I'm doing this at a low heat, so this way you guys can see what I'm doing here. It has a tendency, the camera does, to stop you from being able to see what I'm accomplishing. So I just want you guys to see this. So hopefully you can see that arc there, guys. So you can see that inside arc that we're getting. And then you can also see it on the outside. It's giving it kind of a nice domed look to it. So those are going to untuck a little bit as I bring it around. But we'll take another heat and I'll show you how that keeps going. Essentially it's just heat and continue this process if you're doing it by hand. The next trick, the next thing of doing the scroll, all scrolls you have to do proper heat placement as you scroll something up. So every heat after you get this first part done becomes a longer and successively longer and longer and longer heats on the bar to get a nice, even, smooth arc that we're looking to achieve. One other note, whenever you stick your fishtail back in the fire, make sure it's pointed up. If you have it pointed down, you could burn it right off the piece, especially if you're in a coal forge. If you have a gas forge, it's very hard to control your heat, and so therefore you might have to use a water dipper can and cool it off. I'm bringing it up to heat here. It's still at a lower heat than what I would normally work them, but I'll go ahead and give it some more hammering and keep working it up. Keep it coming. And try to watch this shape and keep it nice and even and curved. Nice and even. So we'll just curve that nice and even. Make sure it's starting to pack in there just right. And you guys can see how that's starting to shape up. And that's what we're wanting. Once again, it's to look natural like a fishtail. A lot of times if you force fishtail scrolls, if you force something organic in nature to be very rigid or look exactly like another piece in a gate or a railing or an artwork piece you're working on, it makes it look cold and dead. So give your scrolls some life. That doesn't mean do a bad job on them. Just give them some life. Give them some character, personal character of their own. There's a time and place for repetition, and there's a time and place for expression. So, and I believe Ironworks should be an expression of the smith, not a place for repetition. Alright, nice and cold still. Took a little longer in heat. Gonna give it a little more pop. Probably start coming to a radius instead of the anvil. And then just continue to work this right on around. Alright, that's about like I would like to see it. Even it up here. And we'll give it a little bit of a brush. And then that's the proper fishtail scroll. It's started. It's got a really nice tight barrel to it. This side's got a little bit of a flat there, but that could be worked out a little bit. And it's got a nice tight barrel to it. So, that's it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully it was informative enough for you. Check the comments down in the comments section. You know what to do if you liked the video, and you also know what to do if you disliked it. Anyways, appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much. Have a great day.